Well, hello and welcome to Battle of Champions, our special show on the T20 World Cup, and we're coming to you live from Sydney, the venue of India's second game at the T20 World Cup. After that win against Pakistan, they will be up against the Netherlands. Joining me is Sunny Gavaskar, who's taken the long flight from Perth just to be here to witness India play their second game. And tell you what, the flight from Perth is, say, what, 4 or 5 hours?
4 hours. So I've gone from Melbourne to Perth for the Australia-Sri Lanka game yesterday. Now I've flown from Perth to Sydney for the India game tomorrow. And then day after, I fly from Sydney to Perth again for the India game on Sunday.
All right. At that very journey,
All that for the love of Indian cricket.
all that for the love of the Indian cricket. In fact, we are here for the love of Indian cricket, covering the T20 World Cup in Australia. But before we talk about the India game, there was a big upset at the World Cup today. It's the neighbours, Ireland, that beat their bigger neighbours, or the bigger cousins you could say, in England, and it was a close encounter. 158 is what England were chasing, and at one point were 105 for 5 in 14.3 overs, but then rain came down and the game had to be stopped, and according to the Duckworth-Lewis system, it was Ireland that won that particular encounter. Here are the highlights. Right, those are the highlights, but here's a quick look at the scorecard for Ireland. Andy Balbirnie, the captain, notching up 62 runs. In fact, the first 10 overs, they were a bit slow to start with, but the next half of that innings, they got a lot of runs. 157 is what they managed in 19.2 overs. You thought with England, with a strong batting lineup, could chase that down, but they lost quick wickets and had lost their 5 wickets for just 86 runs. From there on, there was a bit of a recovery from Moeen Ali, who was not out on 24 of just 12 deliveries at a strike rate of 200. But as I mentioned, they were behind the Duckworth-Lewis method, which is why they lost this particular encounter by 5 runs. Sunny Gavaskar still with me. Saiva, I understand that, rules are rules, and according to that, they lost on Duckworth-Lewis. Ireland played well as well. But just looking at from England's point of view, they'd be disappointed with the rain coming down. Most other teams, 5 down, would have thought that, no, you can't win the game from there. But England, I was looking at their batting. That's their strength. They bat till number 11 with Adil Rashid coming there. So maybe in heart of heart, they would have thought, had we got the full game, could have probably chased it down.
Well, that's not the way to think about it. I think the management should be aware of what the weather forecast is, and therefore they should have been prepared after the 5th over to be always ahead of the asking score. And if they weren't, then only they are to be blamed. Yes, it's not easy on the field of play for the players to be able to maintain that, but unless somebody was telling them every single over, at the end of this over we need so much, at the end of 6th over we need so much, that is an important aspect. That is the management's job. Yeah. Yes, somebody, I'm not saying at the end of every over you go with a chit, but if you have told, or if the wicket falls and the batsman that goes in, he's told at the end of 9 overs we need to have 90 runs on the board, so that that's the minimum thing. If that didn't happen, then nobody can be blamed. Weather is a factor in places like England, Australia, sometimes South Africa, Sri Lanka if you go, because it's always around. The rains are always around, and you would get a match which can be abandoned. So this awareness, if it is not there, then I'm sorry, you cannot have any sympathy for that.
Okay, what that particular result has done is really thrown open that group. We saw an upset in that encounter with Australia losing to New Zealand. In fact, I find it awkward to say it as an upset because New Zealand tend to do well in ICC tournaments. But because Australia are defending champions, they lost to New Zealand. That is something that not everyone expected. Then it was a close game with Australia and Sri Lanka. Now Ireland beating England. So you never know who comes out on top in that particular group. Okay, let's now focus on the Indian cricket team. Before we take a look at how the Indian team matches up with the Netherlands team, there was a bit of a controversy with regards to the food that was served to the Indian team 2 days before the game happened, at the time that they were practicing at the Sydney cricket ground. We were there, and this is a detailed report on that. There's a controversy brewing right here in Sydney, and that's pertaining to the food that was served to the Indian team, not today, but 2 days before their game. So what's the entire thing? Let me try and explain. Firstly, the incident took place right here at the SCG. You could see the iconic stadium right behind me. That's where the Indian team came out in full strength, had a day-long practice session, by which I mean about three and a half hours practice session, after which they went to their dressing room right in this building behind me. And the team reportedly were not happy with the food that was served to them. So what was on the menu? First, let me tell you that. So there were tomato, cucumber, and avocado sandwiches. Other than that, you had falafel, the Middle Eastern dish, and you had some fresh fruits. Now, that is what was served for dinner. The Indian team, though, was expecting a nice hot meal, maybe a buffet of lunch to have been served to them. That wasn't the case. So the team was left a bit disappointed. Now, remember, you have to look at the protocols as well. Firstly, let me tell you who organizes the food here. In bilateral series, what the Indian team is used to, usually the food is organized by the host association. So, for example, if India is touring Australia, it's Cricket Australia's responsibility to organize the food. Now, this being a multinational tournament, ICC being the organizer, there are multiple organizers here. One, the host venue, which is the New South Wales Cricket Association, alongside that the ICC. So the host venue then decides what should be on the menu. There could also be a bit of a cultural difference. Now remember, if you were traveling to Europe or to Australia, it's very common to have a cold lunch or cold sandwiches. We in India are probably not used to that. We all prefer a hot meal, which wasn't served to the Indian team. So there are two sides to the story. The ICC have come with their own version, and these are the three main things that the ICC is saying at the moment. Firstly, they say that the food served at the venue was same for all the teams. So it's not that only India was given that particular food to eat. Every team that is here, for example, there's South Africa, Bangladesh, whichever team came out to practice on a certain day, they get the same food menu. The second thing that the ICC is saying that, listen, this is mentioned what is going to be on the menu on the handbook of each players. And if the BCCI or the Indian players had a problem, they could have flagged it off a day or two before, and we would have tried our best to organize the kind of food that they would prefer. And third thing that the ICC is pointing right now, they're saying that at the moment, we haven't received any formal complaint from the BCCI. Yes, BCCI, via sources, have let everyone know or express their displeasure over the food that was served, but the ICC haven't got a written complaint from the BCCI. So they said once that happens, then we'll also look deep into the matter. So this is where things stand at the moment when it comes to that entire food controversy. Also, maybe this could be a lesson for the BCCI. By and large, every day the food that they've got has been to their standards. But remember, this is 2 days before the game, and it's probably one of those rare occasions where they've been left unhappy with what was served to them. Maybe a lesson to the richest cricket board in the world, that whilst when you're traveling, there are local organizers that have to look at the food, but maybe you could, because you have a extended support staff, a manager, they could always visit venues, take a look at what has been organized, 3 hours of practice, maybe take a look at that, or maybe even a day before, and for all you know, organize your own catering. That isn't something that is impossible for something like, or someone as powerful and as rich as the BCCI to do. All right, Saibhai, the Indian team rather upset with the cold food that was served to them. But do you think there are always two sides to a story? Maybe I understand that the local organizing committee has to ensure that food is provided. Maybe, but also we know we have a huge support staff with the Indian team. Maybe these are things that can be looked at.
Yes, I think, I mean, everybody will have a responsibility. But, honestly, now that it's happened 2 days ago, I think the team should only focus on the matches. These are all externals. These are things that happen. This has got to be looked like a fly which is hovering around your face. You just brush it away and then focus on the game. And I hope that the Indian team does that. Do not relax after what has happened against Pakistan. It's a memorable victory. It's a victory for the ages. But now focus on the next matches, win the top the group, and then keep that winning rhythm.
Just to understand, maybe because you've toured, these foreign countries, when we travel to Australia and maybe Europe, maybe it's also the difference in culture. Maybe for them, a lunch could be a cold sandwich or a falafel or fresh food. But we in India are so used to eating hot food. Maybe it's just a difference of culture there.
Could well be. But like I said, these are all external. Just forget about it now. Focus on the game.
Okay, talking about the game, it's a game against Netherlands, and we heard from the Indian team management. They came out, and the best thing that was to come out of that press conference is that the bowling coach came said, "No, we're not going to be resting any player because we need game time. We want most of our players to be playing continuously. A lot of them are not even getting a chance to bat. So what better way than to go out and bat in the middle? So expect a full strength Indian team when they take on the Netherlands." Okay, so the good news from there is that Hardik Pandya is fully fit because we saw him, struggling to take even singles last time around. But as the bowling coach points out there, that no, he's fully fit and will be available. That's great news. And what we heard also that Hardik Pandya himself, and the bowling coach pointed that out, that Hardik Pandya himself has said that he wants to play every game. That's the right way you think to go about it?
Absolutely. You want the rhythm to keep going. There are these 2 or 3 day gaps between every game. You might use one day's gap to maybe just rest and recover. But you want to be in the flow. You want to be playing matches so that you know exactly what's happening.
Also, I mean, one is that you see Hardik Pandya going out and wanting to play all games. But even in terms of the fast bowler, we heard from the team management saying that, listen, these are fast bowlers. Maybe going forward, we may just allow them some optional practice because, we have to look at their workload. So that could be a better way to go. But to ensure that they go ahead and keep playing games.
4 overs workload, let's not talk about it. 4 overs in a match, and that too not at a stretch. Let's not talk about this workload.
Okay. I think he said a lot in just that one line. So finally, I know that Netherlands may not be the most high-profile team, but I think if you ever needed a reminder that you need to take every game seriously, all you need to do is just see what happened today, England and Ireland.
Yes, exactly. Never take any team lightly. And again, Sydney also, we have a problem with the weather sometimes. And so you do not want to take any game lightly. You want to, like I said, be in that winning rhythm, that flow that makes you get out of tough situations, like India got out of tough situations more than once in the match against Pakistan. So that's exactly what's important, because that will give the team the confidence that come what may, we are ready and we are here to win.
Bowling coach in Paras Mamre, it's for no reason that you call Ravichandran Ashwin a thinking cricketer. He does give it a lot of thought, and he did at that situation. That was presence of mind. He spoke about that leaving the white ball. Many other batsmen, even the well-known one, would have tried to add a swing at it. He did calmly let that white go.
Yes, I think keeping cool in such a situation does require tremendous temperament, and he's shown it. He's the kind of person who likes to be in a scrap, and I mean it in a positive way. He likes to be there because that brings out the best in him as a cricketer, and therefore, it really wasn't a surprise. Remember in the IPL as well, he retired.
Yes.
Because again, this is something which not too many people will think about. Maybe they might have discussed it earlier on, but then for him to say that, look, I'm retiring because somebody who can tonk the ball better than me can come into bat. So these are things that tells you that here is a man who has who thinks deeply about the game, and here is a man who maybe should have been given the chance to captain India. So when some of the seniors were not available, and when we had these one-day matches that took place, they could have given him the honor of captaining India. But that didn't happen. I don't know why. But he's somebody who is an absolute legend as far as, I'm concerned, because of what he has done for Indian cricket.
Maybe food for thought then for the Indian team management or whoever else decide what the destiny of the team is going to be as far as who's going to be leading the Indian team going forward. But Sani Gavaskar, thanks so much for talking to us. It's India's game up next versus the Netherlands. But before we go and sign off from Sydney, here's a quick reminder at the 5 players that you need to watch out for in the Netherlands camp. We'll see you again tomorrow ahead of that encounter. Don't forget to tune in to India Today. Bye-bye for now.